So I am. We're going to wait for a minute or two for other people to join. I know a lot of people will. They have meetings. If they're anything like me, we have back-to-back meetings, and some of those kind of overflow. It's been happening,
Mhm.
but a lot of my meetings are actually on time. But today we have Robert Jones, and he is a good friend of mine. I know him less than a year, but I feel like I've known you for a long time. So we have a lot of similarities. Um, One, that we're both mixed race, we're both mutts. Um, we're both been in the military. We're both close to the same age. We've both been married,
Mhm.
divorced, and
Mhm.
have great children. And we're
Mhm.
both networking individuals trying to make things happen. And when I met you, Robert, you were so helpful, and I'm like, who's this guy? What does he want out of this? And he's just a great networking person, and he believes in helping other people because we're stronger together.
Yeah.
I don't know how you felt about it, but I said this Robert's too nice. At first I was a little cautious, so I had to slow you down. So I don't know how you perceived everything, but
Well, I remember just being in the grocery store, and of all times I'd been trying to reach out to you. I was like, I got to know this cat. I mean, he seems like so cool. He seems so real, and and I don't take the word authentic lightly. I always say you can be authentic, but if you're an asshole, don't do business with that type of authentic person. You have to have some quality about you, and you had them all. And I'm at the store, and I'm talking about a book, and my son's with me, and it's coming on to his birthday, and this is before his birthday last year, Troy. So we've hit about a year because his
oh,
birthday's April 6th, and so I was shopping out for a birthday cake, and you were so cool. I was like, "Hey, I'm here with my son." He's like, "Don't worry about that. I have a daughter. Let's just talk." And here we are chatting as I'm at the store, and I said, "Man, this guy's going to be my buddy forever because." You did business, you understand family, and I thought that was great. And I thought, man, I'm just going to tether to this guy because he matters to me already.
I just figured you wouldn't forget my name because it's the same as your son. I said, yeah, he's not gonna forget my name.
And I didn't. My son doesn't. My son asks about you all the time, and he remembers you as well from being at the store. You were just like, "Hey, we're on the phone now. Let's just talk." And I said, it doesn't get any
I
better
remember
than
that
that.
conversation.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know.
interesting, interesting.
So so we were there, and I just thought, you know, I'm not a believer that everything is in total separate boxes.
Mhm.
I go a little bit more of the flow. I come from the Marine Corps. I'm a recovering programmer and
Mhm.
coder. Used to work for major corporations, and I just decided in 2007, which has been a while now, I just wanted to go in a different direction in my life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I started going into real estate, and I started trying to change who I am, and here we are, you and I today. I never would have thought that I would be an 8-time international best-selling author
Wow,
in
that's
the course of
crazy.
just less than 3 years.
Oh, you did that. I didn't know you did that less than 3 years. Okay. Yeah, and another thing for everyone else, I was also a programmer in the military. I was in the army, and Robert was in the Marines. So, well, is a Marine. Very
I
careful.
always am in
Very
you always
careful
are in the
about
Marines.
that. Half of my age people were Marines too. So I said, "Oh, these guys, man, they're pretty on it." So we used to hang out
Yeah.
with them, and when we got some time out, I said, "Okay, if we get in a fight, I might as well have some of the Marines on my side."
Yeah, it's don't ever underestimate a Marine. We're here to improvise, overcome, adapt, make things happen. We're definitely the action takers.
Yeah, so I'm looking at a couple of your accolades here, and tell me about iNetpreneur. That's something I recently got involved with, and you have a magazine
Mhm.
as well as a private network of individuals. Tell us about that, just to expose the listeners on that.
Yeah, I started iEntrepreneur Network because I felt like the networking model as I saw it a decade ago was getting stale.
Mm,
And, in my opinion, being that I was in technology, I felt like, why do I have to sit in a room once a week with the same people week after week after week when, we live in the world of technology? I
mhm.
wanted to make something that was more hub oriented. We have to have a group in, Phoenix, one in Mesa, one in Dallas, one in San Diego. I
Mhm.
felt like, let's make a group to where, when you join as a member, you join the entirety of the group, not just a location of the group. And
Right.
that was kind of like my first thinking, of how to look at networking differently. And I also felt like, we're not networking silos. How can we, create technology to be, an aid in our success as opposed to being a side tool to our success? And that's how Network Together came about. Network Together was like networking computers. Network Together was also for me, connecting people.
Yeah, so you created a 6 to 7 figure mastermind through that, and I modeled my new private group after that. We had a short conversation on it, but I was thinking, I said, you know what do people need now? And so I
Hmm.
have another partner, Catherine Nunez, and he said, yeah, we can't do all these freaking meetings because we
Yeah.
got a lot of meetings. And I said, well, how can we lessen our meetings but help a larger audience? And I
Yeah.
think that private networking model works out well. And so we're thinking about doing that for free for a while and then have a very low cost. But for the people that are getting
Hmm.
a lot of value out of that, we're going to push them to a mastermind. And is that the same kind of model that you have for your iNet entrepreneur network?
Well, one of the things about entrepreneurs is we're a very impatient bunch. We
Yeah.
always go straight for results. And, I always told, I told my publisher at one time, I said, I want to write a book that's called The Slowest Way to Success and see how it doesn't sell, right? No, we want things fast. We want it now. We don't want to wait for our success.
I
And
know.
so, and so for me, what I was looking at doing is I was creating like a generalist population of networkers and then coming in almost like a university campus where I get the best professionals in the world teaching the most recent things, the most knowledgeable people, the most engaging people to come in, and I partner. And we have this system called learn, earn, and learn how to earn. And so, most of the times when people come into the networks, they go there just to earn. But if you're not learning and you're not learning how to earn better, you really become stale because those that are really pursuing personal development, professional development are just going to speed past you. And so I
Yeah.
said, let's not just make this a network to connect with each other. Let's make this a network to become greater with each other. And that's
Right.
where iEntrepreneur Network was born.
Yeah. I like the idea of having that hive mind because you got people that have that fire underneath their belly and they want to make something happen.
Yeah.
But often they're afraid to join certain groups and
Hmm.
so because they don't want to look silly or feel like they are not up to par. And so having that safe
Hmm.
space is one reason I'm kind of creating a group as well. Mine's going to be more specific towards business and LinkedIn, but it's the same concept. We do have a couple of people in the chat. We have Bill. He was in the Army and he started his career as a programmer as well. Thank you for your service, Bill. Barry is on the chat. He's an author, editor, publicist, and publisher. I think he wants to get with you. Lisa, if you're there, go ahead and drop Robert's LinkedIn profile in there so anyone can connect with him. And then Buddy has dropped his email in the chat, and we'll take a look at that as
Right.
well. So let's do this. Let's figure out where everyone's coming from. So if everyone wants to put it in the chat, and I don't know if you can see the chat or not because I really don't know how Restream works.
Right.
Um,
Right. Let's.
we have an overlay. Let's see if it'll transfer over. It'll
Yeah.
show blank or not. It says it's blank, but I see all the chat. So LinkedIn made a major change on there. But let's figure out where everyone's at. In the chat, go ahead and type in where everyone is viewing, and that would be great. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and so I can't type and do the show at the same time, you know. And Robert's West Coast, and
Well, almost West Coast. You know, I stopped short of the West Coast because I'm in Phoenix.
oh, Phoenix. How far is that from what time? But that's West Coast time zone.
No, right now we're a Maverick state, so you know we have our own time zone. We have the Arizona time zone. We never change our time. So you know, half the year we're Pacific time, half the year we're Mountain time.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. When I brought my radio show online, it was always like havoc for everyone because you know locally the time never changes, but we always had to change all of our slides and we had to change all of our
Oh my goodness.
promotion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it was
changed after the
crazy.
12th today is we're changing time, and you're
Yeah,
not.
we're
Well,
not.
that's weird. Just like we're in different countries.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we have Dallas, Texas, and it's Valerie's from Dallas, Texas, Buddy's from Santan Valley, Arizona, and Tamio is my friend. She's from Atlanta, Georgia, and George is from Los Angeles. We have Erica from Santa Fe, Argentina. All right, we got people everywhere.
yep,
Deb is from Wisconsin, 35 minutes south of Milwaukee. And we have Mark in Illinois. No, the players NIL, Los Angeles. What's NIL mean? The players nil? Dude, I don't know what that means, but thanks. Buddy, 375 miles from the left coast. All right.
yep.
So we have George, and he is in Argentina. Nice. And another
It's really it's really interesting because we have some authors in our series from Argentina, and I love it. We have authors from 25 different countries, but Argentina is um, i- one of our probably most popular countries to become authors from, and they just get the heart set and mindset, you know, much differently than I think many other areas in the world.
Yeah, I would agree that we probably need some self-reflection here in the States, you know. So when I do a lot of posting on LinkedIn, and my Fridays are usually about reflection, life, family, friends, and things like that. And I think we all can balance with a little more reflection. So let's get into it. I want to appreciate everyone for joining, letting me know where you're coming from. We have a LinkedIn user from Puerto Rico as well. And I don't have his name, it didn't come through. And then Bill Price is from Atlanta. So the three areas that we're really discussing in the meat of it, why we're here is how did you become a best-selling author? Then we'll get into can this apply to other books? Because there's a lot of authors or soon-to-be authors that already have a different path that they want to take, and I'm one of those, and I'll get to that a little bit later. And how can I join this group of best-selling authors so your next version comes out, that they're actually part of that? And why is that important? So I'll let you take it away from here because I don't know about this stuff, and that's why I have you here because you're the expert.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting because, you know, it it wasn't necessarily an area that I thought I would ever get into. Did I want to become an author? Yes. Did I want to have that credibility marker laying up behind me, like I have my best-selling books? Did I think it would help me in my main line of business? Well, yes. I mean, you know, it does matter, you know,
And
and the numbers of it all matter.
is so
Pardon?
important. Credibility is so important, and a lot of people can fake credibility. But when you're a Amazon best-selling author, it's really hard to fake that.
Well, you know, they have numbers, you know, they have metrics. And so, you know, the one thing, and I'll you know, bring this first book up here is when you put this little icon on here,
Mhm.
that #1 international bestseller, they will go through and audit the images. They got AI that can scan them and audit them. If you put that on your book and you're not a #1 international bestseller in Amazon, you can be exited or rejected from their software for up to a year. So I recommend, if you're actually #1, make sure that it's verified, because you certainly don't want to be kicked out of Amazon for a year, because that can kind of destroy your reputation pretty quickly. My journey was, COVID happened, and I had an all in-person networking organization. We were in 6 states. We had 19 chapters, all in person, Troy. And then all of a sudden, COVID happened, and all of a sudden, we had no chapters in any state. And my wife and I were really kind of worried, and we decided we had to recreate ourselves. There it is, that improvise, overcome, and adapt. And so we went to the virtual model, and it was difficult for about 6 months. But here's the thing. My office, I had a radio show. They had to COVID cleanse, and it was like a commercial, place where you rent out some space. I had my employees there, and COVID comes 3 times. I couldn't make my radio show because they were cleaning out the building. The 4th time, I'm a slow learner. So the 4th time I said, we're out of here, because there was a fire on top of the building. And I thought, someone's telling me I am not meant to be in an office anymore. I'm meant to go home and be in my home office. And so one day my son, he was 13 years old at the time, knew I was trying to do it, knew I was looking for ways to help my entrepreneurial community. And he goes, "Dad, you old people got it all wrong." I'm like, I'm like working here, and he comes by, and I'm like, okay, what's going to come out of this mouth? I mean, really, what is going to come out of this mouth?
Because that's kind of, there's some kind of words of wisdom coming from the son, right? It's coming to you.
And it's hard sometimes, because I'll say, I'll when I'm presenting, I said, "Can we learn from our children?" And everyone says yes. And then all of a sudden, here I'm having a learning opportunity, and I'm like, do I really want to learn from my son? And I said, "What do you mean, Troy?" And he's like, "Well, when you old people talk about legacy, it seems like you old people always talk about stuff." And he's like, "Shouldn't we talk about knowledge? Because they can always take your stuff, but they can't take your knowledge." I sat there, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is incredible.
I'm such a great father.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'll take credit for that part of it. I can't take credit for like what initialized the whole thought of the art of connection. But see, but when I thought about it, I said, well, I've been in this networking world for about 8 years at the time. I always, I also did 2 church missions, and so. When I went into the chapter, I always would have a quote, and then I have a thought on the quote, and then I have questions to our entrepreneurial audience. And it was like one of the most popular part of the meetings. And so I thought, I'm going to take all these quotes, because I've saved like hundreds of them over the past few years. I was like, I'm going to make a book out of this, And I thought, like a little ebook. I thought like something that they could print out in PDF. And then, someone told me in my community, they're like, "Well, why don't you make a real book out of it?" So I went to a publisher, and I said, "Hey, here's this idea." And she's like, "Wow, that's a great idea." And so I'm like, okay. So I take $5,000, I plop it down to start the process, right? And so I remember driving home, I'm all lit up. I'm the happiest man in the world. I've solved every entrepreneur's problems, worldwide, right? I come home, I tell my wife.
You're talking.
I am top of the mountain. I am ready to share with my wife, and she just came on board. She was voted in. She was now the CEO of the company, and I'm just older founder, so she's CEO. She drives the operations of the business, and I'm like, "Hey, honey, I got this great idea. We're going to put these words of wisdom that I've done for the last like 8 years, and we're going to put them into a book."
Before you ask the CEO.
Oh yeah, I just put the money in. I know. My wife says I like to blow things up, and she has to put it back together again. And she looked at me and she goes, "You did what?"
Yeah.
You did what? And I said, "Yeah, isn't it cool?" And then she said, and then she looked at me, and she says, like, "I can't believe it." why would you go and do such a thing? But she was also in mid thinking herself. But in those moments, which was like a nanosecond, this is quick, I I just stopped myself, and all of a sudden I went from the highest high to all of a sudden my heart was, right above my big toe. Okay, you
Yeah.
know, and I felt like, oh crud, this is going to be a discussion tonight, isn't it? And so, and then she goes, no, 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 I'm sorry, honey, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah.
She says, why don't you bring in, excuse me, other entrepreneurs into the book and take them with you?
If you need
And
to
I
do some
thought,
homework, feel free.
yeah,
Or I'll do
and
some for
yeah,
you.
and she said, why don't you bring some authors into the book, get my electrolytes, and bring them with you? And
Mhm.
and all of a sudden she's, and I thought, you know what a great idea. So I went back to the publisher and I said, my wife came up with ideas, like not just my quotes and
Mhm.
thoughts and questions to the entrepreneurs. Let's do it, with everyone in the community. And that's how the book got started, Troy. It
Oh,
was my son initiating an idea, me taking action on it, and then my wife making it better. You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
That's
so,
how. Well,
mhm,
well, I do have a quick question that popped in my mind that I know that a lot of people are trying to do these joint venture books, and I have something called the LinkedIn Red Book. It's more of a technical Bible for LinkedIn,
yeah,
right? It's very specific on how do I get more bookings, how do I set this up, and it's really process oriented, and then it
mhm,
touches on relationships and how those things work. But I was trying to get other authors, and they all loved the idea. They were on board, but getting them to agree on freaking anything, it's like it was very difficult. And
yeah.
so, and ultimately, was not a good idea. So I'm thinking maybe I should write most of the book and then bring someone in to audit chapters or something like that. So, how did you solve that problem? Because I know that's a problem I hear with a lot of groups that get kind of partnered with other individuals. Because obviously yours is successful, so you
Yeah.
have to kind of overcome those particular herding of cats issue. I think you used that term
Yeah,
before.
yeah. I said, people think herding cats is hard. Herding, over 350 authors is beyond herding
Pretty
cats.
mind-boggling.
You know, and so it goes back to this: be very specific in what it is that you need.
Mm,
That's theme, that's structure, that's amount of content, in the way that the content is delivered, and
mhm.
then set up all your systems so they only accept the content that you require. So if it has to be an image 300 by 300 pixels, 300 dpi, whatever, your software is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Also make sure that you have time frames. Once this page is paid for to be in a book, and it's only 100, like $29 to have a page in the book, or if you have two pages, 249.
Oh
The
yeah,
only
we do
reason,
have a link for
yeah,
people
and
to
and
do
I'm
that.
saying that, because um, one of the things that keep people from doing it is expense and the amount of time to get there. But if you're very specific, if you're very laser focused, if you have good examples, right,
Mhm.
and then you have a software that helps parse and delimit the content that's needed, you can get to where you want to be much faster. you know and then the other thing too is, have ongoing and continuous classroom training that's open to all the authors, and we do that with this book as well. But a lot of people who step into this is their first time,
Oh yeah, it
and
was my first time when I did the last book.
yeah, and, and
Yeah.
and sometimes you just need a little bit of inspiration to get it going, because everyone has a story. In fact, 88% of people that live in the United States, they want to write their story. But 99% of that 88% never do. You know,
Mhm.
and see, so people say, well, if I write a page or a couple of pages or a chapter, does that make me an author? Yes, it makes you an author, but it also creates the point of courage for you to do it again and again and again until you're
Mhm.
getting to the point of doing your own books. And I
Mhm.
and I always say, sometimes doing that first 200-page book, 300-page book, or even 100-page book, that's your elephant.
Yeah.
Take some small steps. you know, to get there. You don't have to bring out that whole elephant. And here's the other thing, you know,
Mhm.
I get a lot of people who are already authors, you know, and like Mark Victor Hansen, he always is like with me, is like, you know, Robert, do books in between. It keeps you credibly relevant in between your own books. And so, and it creates and keeps you in the momentum of authorship. And when it comes to Google and when it comes to Amazon and when it comes to you know, speaking from stage and getting on shows, you know,
Mhm.
if people are hearing you and you're like, oh, I'm doing this book and I'm writing the forward for this book and I have this other chapter coming out and I have my own book coming out, you know,
Mhm.
people are like, how do you do that? Well, you know,
Yeah.
it's that's the secret. You find the right people who are, you know, offering the right system, you know, in the right ways, you know, for you to
Well, the
keep your way up
title,
there.
the title
Yeah,
is great. The art of connection, and I'll just open up this thing right here,
yeah,
um, on the screen here. The art of connection is really good for a lot of things. It covers a lot because I'm a LinkedIn guy, right? I help people build relationships. I help
hmm,
people convert. That's all about connections. And so
yeah,
you actually were really smart on how to title something where it's relevant to a large audience. So I was pretty impressed with that. And then once we went through the process, and it wasn't very painful,
hmm,
it just had character limitations. You gave me specifics,
right,
image size, number of characters, and stuff like that. And then you also went through it with another pair of eyes, which was great too. And so
yeah,
before it goes out, you have to, make sure all your dots are dotted
yeah,
and your T's are crossed. But I was amazed. And then I want to say 4 or 5 days after it's published, you sent an email with the stats of this book. And I was like,
right,
I had no idea it was being sent out all around the world. Tell us about
yeah.
that, because I don't know anything about the stats and what's good and what's not, but I do know that it's on Amazon and a lot of other platforms around the world. Tell us a little bit about that and the exposure of that.
Well, I want to go back to what you were saying, you know, about the book first, because, you know, we do make it easy. We do make it, you know, I like to say, you know, we get you published without you necessarily having to have a publisher. You know,
Mhm.
we get you to become an author without you necessarily having to be a writer. You know, these are, I mean, quite frankly, these are all learned. You learn and you do your craft. I mean, when I was in exercise physiology and sports psychology, for one of the many things I've done in my life after I graduated at ASU, you know, um,
Yeah,
it
sounds
was
like you
like,
have like 4 lifetimes already.
you know, if you haven't lived for lifetimes already as an entrepreneur, you just haven't lived enough. That's the way I
True.
look at it.
Yeah,
But
it's true. Yeah.
but the biggest challenge is really working on that entrepreneurial heart set. If you start with the heart set, you will start working on the mindset. You will start working on the skill set, and you will start, you know, pursuing all the things that come with your God-given gifts. I mean, that's just it. Don't start on your skill set, you know, because you'll hate life. You know,
Yeah.
if you train to be an attorney, you know, and you go to law school and you have that debt and you come out of there and you can't stand it, you know, you don't have the appetite for it, you know, you're not going to do very well with it, you know. And what I like about what we do here is this augments, you know, in many ways what entrepreneurs do. So you're talking about the book getting into all these different countries. You're talking about, you know, how, you know, we make all these partnerships,
I'm so
you know.
sorry to interrupt. I
Yeah.
love the idea of a heart set because
Okay.
I think as a previous programmer and a recovering programmer, I was all about skill set.
Right.
I was damn good at what I do. I did
Yeah.
fantastic, but without heart set, you end up getting burned. You get burned out. I guess that's the
Yeah.
term. And by moving with your heart, you have the energy behind that skill set. I just wanted to mention that was a very important part, a part of some of the communities that I'm trying to build in your community, and what you're trying to do to support that community through this book.
Yeah, you know, and I call, yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and I call it the heart set mindset construct. You know,
Mhm.
or the human conscience. And and it's really, really important, because what I found in this book is, people want to be loved. They want to be heard. They want to feel significant. They want to feel like they're giving value. They want to know that their time, the most precious thing that we have, isn't being wasted.
Yeah, time is finite.
Yeah, it
Time
is. And
you can make more money. You can always make more money. You can start from
yeah,
a negative 100,000, whatever it is you're starting from, and you can make money, but you cannot make time. And
yeah,
so let's use our time together while the value of our time is well worth it, you know.
yeah.
And I'm thinking about, if I had to write a bestseller, I wouldn't know where to begin. And I met you, and now I'm a best-selling author, and it wasn't that hard. So that first step, that movement, really got me going, you know. And now I'm thinking, well, I did start a book. Maybe I can actually finish the book that I started, you know.
Mhm.
So that
Well,
that
and here's the thing, Troy. When you're an entrepreneur, you're not making money off of books. You're making money off what you do.
yeah,
The books help you. Now, when you get a book published, if you start mentioning that book in everything you do, so you show a book on the signature of your email, you put your book up behind you when you're on a Zoom, you offer a book when you speak at an event, et cetera,
mhm,
et cetera. You
mhm,
show a book when you're meeting with a client. you know
yeah,
um, the metrics say that a person with a book, any book,
mhm,
a person with a book in a 12-month period, if they're doing the same things as someone else, that you will, or I should say, you're doing the same thing else as you would without the book, you'll make up to 200% more just by having the book, because that little name down there at the bottom of the book for you, or
mhm,
that ability to show the book and say, hey, I'm in here and you can be too,
mhm.
is value in itself. you
It
know
is,
and
yeah,
and
because it
and
allows people to
Mhm.
say, "Oh, this person is a credible authority in what he does."
and and here's the other thing that people, um I really want to put out there, because I always like to give some golden nuggets. People don't use just
Give us nuggets.
Google. Yeah, people don't use just Google to go out there and to look for people who are credible. People go, entrepreneurs, B2B, mostly B2B, we go to Amazon to see who's credible, because you can't fake these books. You're either written them, you either are in them, you're a co-author in them, or you're a part of them.
Mhm.
And it goes back to knowing your numbers. Take the easy wins. If it's just a
Well, I
page,
mean,
it's just a chapter. With Amazon, you can go in there and you can place the picture of that book and attach yourself to it and say, hey, yeah, I'm the lead author, I'm a co-author, I'm a contributing author of all these different books. when,
mhm.
when a when a lay person comes in, or a person who's looking specifically for your niche, let's say, and they see 8 books up there as opposed to one, they're picking the guy or gal who has 8 books up there.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Numbers
definitely, yeah,
matter. you
it's
know
definitely, people have a mental checklist,
yeah,
and they're looking for something to disqualify you.
yeah,
And if you have a best-selling, if you're a best-selling author of a credible book, then that's a check mark. That's very important. Just like your LinkedIn profile. If your
you
profile doesn't have a picture, if it's all janky, they're not going to really take you seriously. So there's certain check marks that have to happen. And then, like you said, if they compare Jane to John, and Jane has these
mhm,
credible items that they see that are actual
yeah,
items, you know, like a physical book. They're like, well, maybe Jane knows more,
mhm,
and they're gonna go with Jane, you know. And
yeah.
so it totally makes sense. Yeah.
Can I share a little story with you? I mean, I think your audience will like this. I'm, there's a gal, her name is Laura Leinmeyer, big table person. And I remember, she was doing some coaching, and she said, Robert, size matters. Size matters.
Mhm,
Size of an audience,
mhm.
size, size of your metrics, size of the people that you network with, she just, her main thing was just size matters. And I
Yeah.
remember,
Your
another gal.
personal influence that impacts. that.
I mean, and I say you need to know your metrics because your metrics are your impact statement.
Mhm.
Your impact statement will reflect on your income statement because believe me, if you're not making any impact, you're not making any income. You're
Yeah,
not. And
yeah.
and I can train people on what an impact statement looks like so they can make a crap load of income. And I've seen it. And in some of the ways we're doing what we do, we use social media, we use traditional marketing, but I found that stages, getting up there in front of an audience, getting into pages and learning how to do engages and training are really the way that you can make boatloads of money with what you do.
Mhm.
This is the working on. But I remember when I was introducing Sharon Lecter, and this is like the story. And so I introduced Sharon Lecter, and I get up there on stage. I'm so proud, and I said, "Here we have 16-time best-selling author." I mean, Sharon Lecter, man. Think and Grow Rich. Rich Dad Poor Dad, all this sort of stuff, just amazing. And
Mhm.
and I remember, and she came on the stage, and she looked at me,
Uh-oh. It
and
must
then
have
she
been more
looked
than
at yeah,
16.
and then she looked at the audience, and she goes, 17.
Ah.
You know, and this was 17-time, not 16-time best-selling author. And then I remember later in the event, I'm sitting down and Laurel Leinmeyer's on one side and Sharon Lecter's on the other side, and I'm in between them. And my wife is across the table, and I see my wife going, "Don't do it, Robert. Please don't do it. Don't do it." Because I got the size matter person here, and I got the know your numbers person over there, and I had to do it. And I asked Sharon, I said, "Does it really mean a difference between 16 and 17 times?" And she turned her head, and then she brought it back, and she goes, "Yes." She says, "It's like the difference between having 16 and 17 kids. Each and every one matters."
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And she said, "Robert, the reason why people fail to succeed is they fail to know their numbers and they fail to understand to get the easy wins." And she's like, "Look, if someone can get into it, she'd say now, if someone can get into a world class international best selling series, we have the fourth book now that's in the Library of Congress and coming up for holistic concept of the year, international, you get in it."
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know and she said, is $129 or $249 going to keep you from being not just in the book, but all the other entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, etc., that are in your community as well? And so I will never forget that, Troy. When Sharon Lecter says numbers matter, I listen.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. And I want to thank Lisa. I had her log into my LinkedIn account to post this on there, but we posted the link for that. So there's a couple of links going on. One is to book some time with Robert, and the other is to reserve 2 pages on it. And so, do we want to talk about what that means, reserving 2 pages?
you, you know on the website, there's a calendar that you can click on. A
Mhm.
reserved page means that you're reserving a date in the calendar year of 2024. You're reserving a date in the calendar year of 24 that has meaning and relevance to you. It
I
could
see.
be when you started your started your business. When is your birthday? When did you get married? Some people use that's the day I got sober and I decided to change my life. Everyone's day that they pick, is different. And so we did 2 pages because I had so many people saying, "You know what, I want a page for me, but I also want to gift a page to my wife or my
Yeah.
son or daughter, or a not-for-profit or something else, or I just want two
That's a great
pages."
idea. Yeah, I would
You
think they
know,
would do
and
that with
that's
us
what happened.
personally, and they may have a page for the audience even. It really depends because there's so much information to get out there. And tell us who's the book for? Like, who would be a good candidate to reserve these pages? Because one thing you don't want to do is let anyone in there that's not credible to a certain extent. And I know that you have solopreneurs, you have entrepreneurs, you have high end coaches. You have consultants, C-level individuals that have words of wisdom. But in general, who is a good fit? I mean, unless I named them all, it's kind of off the top of my head.
Well, I mean, so let's take a different look at it.
Okay.
Um, what it really is about, it's imparting pieces that we've learned through our own legacy that we want to gift back to others in the world. So the first back was networking. It was helping people get past this thing called COVID. The second book was inspiration. The third book was, transformation. This book is all about 365 days of gratitude. And entrepreneurs who have the correct heart set, are going to gravitate, towards this type of book. And so, what are you grateful for? And
Yeah.
and how does that resonate with you? How does that resonate with your business? How do you serve your clients? It that will radiate in your gratitude on how you're there, because we have contact information. Anyone in this now approaching 1,000 author community that's in 25 countries, you can be found, and you can even have a QR code, which makes this book, living on forever. But it's for people who want to give back, primarily to business owners, entrepreneurs, and influencers who need a little support, hope, and encouragement, for times that, when it's not going as good.
I kind of feel right before COVID, there was kind of an awakening,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a self-reflection and people were asking themselves, what's really important? And not important just for them, but what is important for the bigger whole of people, the bigger net of society. And I think this book kind of goes along the lines when you speak of gratitude.
Well, no one wants the business owner or the entrepreneur coming in the room and they're just shoving business cards in your face.
Yeah,
No one cares about your what and your how. We just don't anymore. And one
yeah.
thing that I've learned in the past 2 years is give me your compelling why.
Mhm,
Tell me who you are. I
mhm.
want to know your who and your why before I get to your what and your how.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the in-person relationships.
Mhm,
Another thing that I've learned is, I love Zoom. I love getting on television. I love being, in on radio shows. I love it because it creates awareness. I love it because it creates exposure to the products and services that I offer. But
mhm,
that's the first two steps. It doesn't necessarily always build a client base if I'm
mhm.
only pitching stuff.
Tough.
It
Yeah.
goes because it's like, oh my gosh, you mean his 13-year-old son came up with this idea? Oh my goodness, he got schooled by
Life
Sharon
is
Lecter.
about stories.
It's all these stories,
Yeah,
and
life's about stories, and
it's
even your branding is very story driven. And
well,
so we live in a human economy.
it's human currency. It's
Yeah,
human
human currency is
currency.
the better term. And
You know,
so
it,
people want to work
mhm.
with people that they feel like they have a connection with, they can relate to. Like if you look at my profile, I tell them I was in the army, I'm a single father. I even
Yep.
tell them I was a terrible dater. I tell them that because it has to do with my brand. And I figured a way to old fashioned date for businesses. And they can relate to that. I was, oh, he was a
Yeah.
programmer, it's a type A traits. And oh, he had to slow it down and he had to learn how to communicate. That's old fashioned dating for business. And that
Yep.
is something that people can relate to. So yeah, people want to work with people they can relate to and they can get to know and like, and of course, trust.
hmm and we're all rushed. We're rushed. We're rushed. We're pushed.
Mhm.
Do this, do that. Make this decision. Get here, get there. You know, it's all about being productive. And so what I like about this book series is it also makes people slow down for a few moments to write that page. It might take an hour or two, but the biggest
That's not a
travesty
lot of
about the
time, though. That's not a
no,
lot. I mean, if you
but
said
it's time.
two
But
hundred
it's
fifty
time. But
dollars and it takes me an hour to be, that is time well spent. Wouldn't you say?
Well, like And I'm like, even like if you spend 10 to 15 minutes of gratitude each and every day, I say entrepreneurs spend far too much time on what they do than who they are. you
Yeah.
know and something like this actually gets a person to slow down and become a a real
Yeah,
authentic,
they need to
because they're sharing themselves.
be more comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and share that skin with others.
yeah,
Everyone here, is all about their sharing themselves with others. We're here. I always, one of my quotes in the book was, when I was young, it was all about winning. You know,
yeah,
and as I've gotten older, it's all about succeeding. You know, but when I was young, there could only be one. But when you succeed, you can take everyone.
yeah, yeah.
And these are things that I've
Winning is
learned.
winning for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Robert, not to interrupt too much because I tend to interrupt you quite a bit. We're coming pretty close on time here, and I want to
Okay.
cover a couple of little things here. And so we have between 5 and 10 minutes left. So for other people, so that's great for this book, and we'll give the link again, and we'll show the link on the slides if they are interested. They can go ahead and get 2 dates on this stuff on the book, but one other area of interest is that if I'm writing a book right now, like I'm writing the LinkedIn Red book, as we speak, and I may pull some other authors, how can we work with you or people like you to make whatever we're doing successful? So we have your book right here. That's the co-authored Art of Connection type of book here, but some of us also are doing something else. So, do you have any advice or any words of wisdom to help those? I know that doing this book first is going to help a lot because it's your first step into making it happen. But you're mentioning that they should start writing books in between and things of that nature. What would you suggest?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah. See, it goes back to knowing where you're at. you
Mhm.
know it, you know and once you start, the worst thing you can do is stop. And so, I say, pick your niche, start small, and start in a part of something else. Just start getting used to the gleaming. I call it gleaming. Start getting used to the process of some of the terminology. Spend small before you spend big. There's a lot of people that say, go big or go home. That may be right if you're an accountant. That may be right if you're an attorney. That may be right if you're a physician. In your industry, go big. you know
Mhm.
get your message out there. But this is a little bit different. You're starting the first steps of becoming an entrepreneur author. Not an author entrepreneur. They're totally opposite. And
Mhm.
so the first things you want to do is, like, what are reasonable places where I can write and show myself in other people's places,
Mhm.
that I know, like, and
Obviously, what you're
trust.
saying is a lot of this is networking with the right individuals. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
if I wanted to work with you to get my book out, we may co-author hypothetically, of course,
Yeah. Yeah.
we may co-author it because you already have success. So one thing other people can do is reach out to authors that already have success in a similar field or a contributing field,
Yeah.
and by doing that, they have a much better chance of getting the accolade of a best-selling author, especially if those other people have those things automatically. Because right now you're in the third. The last one was the third version of the book, right?
Correct.
Okay, and every one of them were a best-selling author in various countries and all that stuff. So one way to almost guarantee that is to work with you on that first baby step.
Yeah. I mean, it really, like I was an athlete for the longest time, and every athlete, we all start with learning how to put on our shoes.
Mhm.
We don't set records the first day. And the same with entrepreneur authorship. Start looking at simple ways of succeeding and then growing from there. You know,
Mhm.
because what you want to do is you want to immerse yourself with the language and the process, and you want to go to you want to search in Amazon, and you want to see, hey, I want to write a book on how to become a better quilter. Okay, that's great. Go to Amazon and see if there's a blank space there. See if it's a crowded space. See if there's a space that seems reasonable to insert yourself that no one else is talking about.
You're
You know,
talking strategy, definitely. Yeah.
absolutely. You want to map out, if you're doing your own thing, you want to map out your strategy. Or, if you're looking at being a part, you're looking at growing a book, by being a part of these other collaborations or ensemble books, you also start growing your audience, because entrepreneur authors, those who have write, are, they're more loyal,
Mhm.
and they also support. But one of the things that I also say is, like, learn to, pick your niche, put together your ensemble, meaning whether you're a part of, or you start creating your own, and then start growing your entourage. You want to grow your audience of raving fans, and reward them when they reward you for buying your book or contributing to your book, or find someone who's very credible in the industry to write your forward, or to be in your acknowledgement, or to
Yeah, it sounds
put
like
a case study in,
getting that right partnership in order to contribute to your book.
to go
Allow
fast. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes a lot fast. Dr. Smith, he has 86 academic publications. So he's doing gangbusters on this, and he has one novel out, 3 books in prep, and wrote a screenplay as well. So it looks like Mr. PhD Smith, and I actually had an interview with him. Great guy, Mick Smith. He is pretty on it. So there's a lot of activity in here. I want to open, if anyone has any questions about this, feel free. I think the questions I asked quite a lot, but meanwhile, I mean, feel free, because we're kind of at the top of the hour. But what I want Lisa to do, if she hears me, is go ahead and put Robert's connection on there for a booking. If anyone wants to talk to Robert, I have my booking link here, so feel free if you want to talk shop with me. And also add the 365 Days of Gratitude website, and for the last link, and I'll go ahead and run the slide here. This is the actual artofconnection.com is the purchase page. So you typically charge about $1,000. And I think you have a special just for the show. Can you explain that, Robert?
Yeah, the individual pages are $497 each, but for
Okay.
for Troy, we did it so it's $249 for 2 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that because I'm grateful for being on the show, and it's a way to give back to others. I Up there, it's artofconnectionspecial.com. I think you said connection.com, but it's artofconnectionspecial.com is Troy's special link. The other perks, this book is in the Library of Congress. You'll become an international best-selling author. You can be a part of our weekly author training. We have a global entrepreneurial author community, 3 from Argentina. We have Ireland, England, Australia, Canada, Mexico, many countries. And we also have biannual author summits, because we believe that the Art of Connection isn't just a book series; it's actually a movement. And that's connecting holistically. That's connecting through utilizing better interpersonal skills. That's using traditional marketing and digital marketing, to its fullest. And so we have experts around the world that come onto our panels and speak to our audience, so they can be better entrepreneurs and authors.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And the book is in the Library of Congress. How'd you manage that?
It was really interesting because the book was actually accepted by the Library of Congress before the manuscript was even finished. My publisher at the time sent a proposal to the Library of Congress, and they said it was such a meaningful work in the time frame that it was written in. It got an automatic acceptance, and quite
Wow.
frankly, that helped me get more authors into the book because I didn't have a book to show, Troy. I
Yeah.
was show I'm like telling people, hey, get into the book for this for and this is what it'll look like and this is what it'll do. But I couldn't point to Amazon to say, yeah, it's a bestseller.
Yeah.
People trust. I had a large enough audience where people trusted me enough that they were willing to give up their time and a little bit of investment to be in that first book.
Well, I mean,
And
this the price for 249 seems like it just covers the printing. Doesn't seem like
well, yeah, no, I mean,
I mean, I would think
there's
if
the
I read the
design,
back,
there's the proofing, there's the editing, there's definitely a lot that goes into the book. And, and we also market the book, and
yeah,
so,
yeah,
so we market you into all these different spaces. And it's like in my world, in my world, when I was trained as a marketing technologist, we always had a rhythm. It was always, the first step is always creating awareness. So,
hmm,
if you're only going to be in your own audience, you'll never grow past your own audience. It will grow slow. But if you're able to start getting yourself in other people's audiences as well as your own, it's like other people's money. How do people really make money? They make money off a lot of other people's money as well. And
oh
that's the
yeah,
same way, make awareness for yourself off of other people's audiences,
yeah.
and
Well, that's
here.
what networking is all about.
Absolutely.
Networking with the right people, and because I think a lot of people have to get out of their comfort zone.
Right.
I'm safe right here, and I don't want to. Well, then you're not going to grow. You don't
And you're
have
not
to.
saving as many people. I
And
always.
you may think you're a shark, right?
Right.
Sharks are
No.
very powerful animals, but what happens when a shark stays still? It sinks. I don't know if anyone knew that sharks can't stay still. So you have to move forward, and you have to grow
Yeah.
beyond what your comfort zone is. And even if it's a baby step, and I see this as a baby step, but yet a giant leap at the same time. It's almost, I don't want to say oxymoron, but it's kind of weird that such a small step can make such a big impact.
I will tell you this. I had a gal, and believe me, we've had almost 900 authors in the book series so far. Not one of them's come back to me and said, "Oh my God, why did I do that? Biggest mistake ever. I can't believe I did." They all come back to me and they say, "Thank you. This was great." One of them, her name is Tiffany. And I'll just say I won't give her last name. She's in Chicago. Her and her husband own a pot shop. Okay,
Mhm.
and that
What kind
wasn't
of
like her.
pot?
Whatever they do, they sell this, that, and the other, but that
Okay.
wasn't her dream. Her
Oh,
dream is she always wanted to help kids, and she always wanted to be an author. She
ah,
called me 3 weeks ago, Troy, and she says, "Oh my goodness, that one page gave me the courage to
mm,
create my own book and to start my own initiative, my own movement." And
yeah.
so what she's doing is she's putting together ensemble books for kids to inspire other kids to become entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it's great to get inspiration from other things, but it's really awesome doing something and getting inspiration from within.
Yeah.
You're always accepting like I need inspiration from someone else and not making your own. You're not gonna make it happen. I had a phone call last night with a friend of mine, and a totally different subject, but she wanted to do vending machines, right? She asked
Hmm.
my advice on it to do a certain type. I don't know anything about vending machines. Like, why are you asking? You're a business guy. This, that. I said, well, the numbers look good and this and this. How about doing this? I said, well, like she wanted to do masks at one point. I said, well, COVID's gonna change,
Hmm.
and that might not work. So, but traditional vending works. And she says, and I talked to her last night, and she did it for like 3 months, and she has 8 vending machines, and she's making like 3K a machine. I'm like, good for you, because
Yeah.
she had her own. I mean, of course, she consulted people, but she had her own energy to say, I'm gonna make my own life, and I'm gonna make it impactful for me. I'm gonna make it
Right.
happen. And so that's one thing I like about you, and I like about your group and a lot of my network. They're self-sufficient in getting their own enthusiasm. You know, at the end of the day, when I wake up, even if I don't want to wake up, just I don't feel like I'm waking up. You know, regardless of how I feel, I'm getting stuff done. You know, and the great thing is the results. So my inspiration comes from my results, and my happiness comes from the actual work that I'm doing. So
Yeah.
I want to say I do appreciate everything that you are saying. I don't know if we have any questions with the audience, but we do have a pretty good audience here. I have quite a number of people on the live.
You, you know,
I,
I I want to give one more just gold nugget, if that's okay.
yes, of
You know,
course.
the pub, you know, most of the publishing community really kind of do a smoke screen. And you
Mhm.
know what I mean by that is I call it the get someone theory. You know, but this is what I want, you know, everyone who wants to add to their book tally or even start the process of their first, you know, entry into being an author is, you know, I call it the get someone theory. Get someone who's been an author, you know, and you know, and then get another someone who's an author and get another someone who's an author, and you
Get
know, and take them
someone
for a virtual.
to get something. Get someone theory. Everyone.
Yes, it is. And what I mean is if you want to become a landscaper, you know, interview landscapers, you know, and start to see what it looks like, you know, and it may have to be in another state because you don't want to compete within the same backyard of each other, you know, but, you know, so much of the time we go to the publisher and we don't necessarily go to the authors. You know, everyone who wants to become an author, you know, they should be getting someone who's been an author because a publisher is going to tell you a different story than other authors.
Yeah, because they have a different motive.
Absolutely. You know,
Mm.
and so with me, you know, I'm in the author seat. And so, you know, I work with three different publishing companies and I can point in the direction. But the thing is most people who come to me that I talk to, I'm not trying to sell them into becoming a publisher. I want them to become an author. So my conversation is very different. You know, become who you want to be. You know,
Mhm.
and talk to someone who's already in that seat and learn from that guy. And that's what I
Yeah,
call the get someone theory.
that's awesome. I was giggling at Mr. Smith's message there. He says he'll send me $20 later for the kind words. And
That's
so
great.
I take Cash App as well. You have my phone number. You can Zelle
Right.
it, and
Oh
you know,
man.
$20 get me what did $20 get you nowadays? I'll buy a combo with that. You know.
I
So,
barely buys a 6 foot, I mean a 6 inch Subway sandwich. I
oh
saw
yeah,
that,
no.
you know, it was like, you know, this gal, she bought like a 6 inch sandwich and it turned out to be like $18 and like 70 cents or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So Subway specifically, I mentioned in one of my shows. They used to have about a $5 combo, like the
Yeah.
daily. That same combo, it's a bare minimum combo. It's not anything special, extra meat or anything. It's just the combo. It's almost $12 now. You know,
Yeah.
so it's just yeah. So things are very expensive, and this right here is relatively cheap. I mean, like I think it's a no-brainer. So I'm in, obviously. I don't know what I'm going to write in there, but I have 2 pages in there, and I invite everyone else
You
to do
know,
that. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chats, and Mr. Smith is asking for PayPal. He's being snarky.
well, you know, and I also want to give credit to Donna Campbell. She stepped in the role, and she's our cover co-author of the book, and I want to thank her for her support. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention her name,
Oh,
and
you're
also and also my lovely wife who puts up with me for getting these projects out because it is definitely more a labor of passion than a labor of profit.
Well, you know what? I think you and your wife are the yin to the yang. That's my like from outside looking in, and that's actually very precious, you know. So you having a partner that actually will pick up pieces and mold it. So you got this idea of clay. This is what's happening. You have this
Yeah.
thing of clay, and you're like, honey, I love this clay. And she says, well, maybe we just need to shape that clay and you're like, oh, that's a great idea. So you providing the clay, and she's forming that clay into the thing that needs to be. So that's actually fantastic, you know.
It
Well,
really is.
yeah. So I'm not going to hold everyone else too much longer. We're over the hour. But Robert, I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll jump on the other chats and stuff and add the links to the other lives and things afterwards. But feel free to grab your pages if that's appropriate. Feel free to grab a link from Robert if you want to chat with him, and if you want to chop shop with me, feel free. My booking link is on my LinkedIn profile. So Robert, thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you so much.
It's been awesome interacting with you, and for everyone else, thank you for joining and thank you for participating. All right.
Thank you so much, Troy.